Welcome back. This is part 5 of a character modeling tutorial series. Last video we talked about how to do softening edges, to also use the sculpting tools for small refinements, as well as to add a couple more edge loops to smooth out some forms of the body that were rather blocky. This video we're going to talk about how to model the fingers for the character. So I mentioned this in one of the previous videos, but we're going to model the character's arms in a T-pose and the palms down. So palms down, T-pose for the arms is going to tend out to work better for the rigging and animation standpoint. There'll be less stronger deformations that'll be needed if we do palms down, where the radius is rotated over the ulna for the arm. Alright, so what we're going to do is come in here and extrude out the fingers and the thumb. I usually do the thumb last and the fingers first. That's how we'll do this. So we need 4 fingers for the character, but we only have kind of 2 vertical faces, 2 sets of vertical faces. So basically I could extrude these 2 and then these 2. We need to have more edge loops. So what we could do is come in here to the mesh tools and do insert edge loop and put another loop here and another loop here. Well, that's all right, but that really does add a lot more edge loops throughout the body that we may not want later. Now, it actually is not doing too bad here. The rest of the forms, the side of the body didn't have a lot of edge loops to begin with, so we'll actually keep it like that for now, and then we will come back and talk about how to add more loops to round the fingers off even more. All right, so we'll put those there. So basically now we'll have 2 faces per finger. The smaller the extremity or joint for the finger, we don't really need 4 full faces for each one of those. We'll come back and I'll show you how to add those edge loops in later. But this is going to be more efficient. Instead of adding another 4 edge loops throughout the whole body, we're just going to start extruding the fingers with 2 sets of faces per finger. Alright, so what I'm going to do first, make sure symmetry is on, is to try to position some of these faces so that I have a good, even, almost rectangular shape to start with here. So this is going to take a little time, but I am going to try to flatten this out, and I'm going to go back and round it off later so that everything looks a little better, ready for more of a final position. But what I am going to do right now is try to create rectangular shapes, and then we will scale that in vertically a little more. Alright, something like that. It's not perfect, but it's alright. Go to like the side view and select these and try to kind of scale them. And do that there, and then kind of even this in the middle there. Alright, so now we can scale all these down so they're more, a little bit flatter, not too crazy. We can move it up because the palm is going to be a little bit thicker than the rest of the fingers. And now we can start to extrude these forms. Just going to scale a little more with the corner points. There you go. We can even flatten this that way. All right. But the thing with fingers is I'm first just going to extrude them horizontally, and then I'm going to rotate them back so that way the pinky is set further back on the wrist than what the pointer finger is, which is more natural. Alright, move a couple more little edges so things aren't so pointy. Alright, so the couple ways we can do this. We can extrude one finger, duplicate it over, target, weld, everything back together, or we can extrude each finger independently and try to get the same form. I'm going to show a different way, well, the first way, which I have to break the watertight model as I'm duplicating a finger, copy it back over, and then target weld everything back together. It's just a choice, but the reason I like this one is because each finger will be very proportionate to one another and still have the same overall form. Alright, so I'm going to take 2 faces, and when I hit extrude, let's make sure we just have those 2 faces selected. And when I hit my move tool, I can scale this down a little bit and move it up. And I'm going to try to go ahead and make this into a rounded form, which with only 2 faces is going to be a little bit more difficult, but basically what I'm going to do is the top and bottom two sets of vertices are going to be scaled in, and the middle ones are not going to be scaled. They're going to be wider. So we'll move it up as well. There we go. Might need to come take some of these edges, flatten them, and try to center them as much as we can. There we go. That's pretty good. All right, so now what we're going to do is move that back some and scale it out a little bit, because that's going to be one of the loops for the base joint of the finger. Let's do one more loop, scale it out a little bit. Okay, we'll come back and adjust scale later, but basically this is just going to get moved up some, something like that. Then we'll blend it all back later. All right, so that's our third joint for our third loop for the first joint. I'm going to extrude. This will be to the center, the bone of the first joint. See what we look like from a front view. All right, we're okay. Maybe something like that. We can always scale everything later, but all right. So we're going to do 3 loops for each finger. Since they're smaller, we don't need them to have as much contrast for the loops. Okay, so 1, 2. Well, actually, that was 3. So 2 and then 3. There we go. So we can pull that back. All right, we're going to have the bump out for the top of the joint, and then for the bottom, we're going to scale that up so it'll have the indentation for that finger, a crevice for it. All right, so that's joint 1. We're going to do this one more time. So we're going to extrude. I'm going to start tapering some because the fingers do get thinner as they get closer to the end of the finger. So there we go. Maybe a little longer. And we're going to do 3 joints or 3 loops here around the joint. Scale it up a little bit. Move it and then scale back down. Okay, so we'll do the same thing with the center. Take those 2, move it up a little bit. All right, so this will be for the fingertip now. So we'll extrude and move it out. And we're going to start to taper a little more. There we go. I'm going to move it up so that there's a bottom angle there. And now we can start to round off for the fingertip. So we're going to extrude again. And we're going to scale and move it up. Something like that. And we can do one more time there. So we can scale that. Round it off a little bit more. Yeah, pretty good start to the finger. We can make a couple more refinements. We could take like these 2 edges, scale them out. So this would be kind of like the fingernail part, a little bit wider of a form. Scale those out some, so it looks more like a fingernail. We still don't have a whole lot of loops, but that's definitely one way we can do that. We do want a little bit of a bend to this finger, so it's not just a straight finger. A little bend in joints goes a long way in it deforming more naturally. We can turn on soft select, open up the soft select menu and turn on soft select, kind of see what happens when I select just the tip. If I put that to a value of 1, 2, okay, it's got to be a lot larger because my scale of my character is larger, so we'll try 20. There we go, so that's too much now. 10, all right, let's do 8. There you go. All right, so let's, oh, that's not too much. Let's do back to 8. There you go. So if I start to rotate this, it's going to rotate that joint a little bit, and then I can move it down. So that curves it from that angle. I'll go back and show you again. So with the value of 8, I can rotate it and then move it down, and I create a little bit of a bend for that finger. So now what I want to do is increase my volume. 10, 12, try that. And let's rotate again and pull that down again. There. So now we have a little bit of curvature with each joint. That's going to come in handy when we start to animate the character. All right, let's go back up, out, zoom out. Okay, the finger's a little bit too long. My wrist area is also too long, so let's just take this and move it back some. There you go. And then maybe I'm going to take kind of all of these and we'll scale a little bit and then move it back some. That looks pretty good. Start there. The whole finger is kind of small as well, so maybe we'll come in, take those edge loops and scale it out just a little bit. There you go. All right, so the last part of the fingers is to duplicate this finger and then combine and target weld this to the other section. So what I'm going to do is take the entire body and hit Control D to duplicate. I'm going to move it back some. I'm going to move it out of the way so I can see the whole thing. And then I'm going to go into face mode and delete the rest of the body other than just the fingers. Let me turn off symmetry. I'm going to delete everything except for this finger over here on this side. Keep going all the way to the point where the finger is going to attach to the body there. That looks pretty good. All right, my pivot point's not right, so let's go to Modify Center Pivot. Make it easier so I can move and rotate this. And what I want to do is have this so that the entire finger is positioned relatively close where I want it to be. But you know, if I duplicate this 2 more times, our hands don't look like this. It looks very robotic. So what actually happens is I'm going to have a little bit of rotate outward. It might be too much for the middle finger. So a little rotate, and it actually is going to be moved back a little bit, something like that. The middle finger is also the longest, thickest finger, so we're going to scale it up a little bit. And we'll move it out a little more there. There you go. And then I'm going to duplicate again and rotate a little more. And we'll scale that back down because the pointer and middle finger, or pointer and ring finger, are relatively the same size. There we go. And we'll duplicate again and rotate and scale because pinky finger is the smallest. Something like that. All right, there we go. So that's going to look a lot more natural than if I have all my fingers straight. So that might be a little overkill, so we'll kind of rotate everything back a little bit. But we do want a little bit of curvature in the wrist and how the fingers kind of move back into that wrist area. Something like that. There you go. All right. So the thing we need to do is just move some of these vertices so that they kind of match where my new fingers are going to be welded together. There you go. So if you can start to see that kind of more natural hand pose there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to delete the faces where those fingers would connect. Make sure we just have those selected. So I'm going to delete the faces on the main body of where these new fingers would connect. There you go. And then I'll put it in object mode and select the body and the new duplicate copy fingers. And we're going to do combine. So combine will make it into one new object. We have these other subset transform groups that we'll correct later. But what we will do is now target weld our vertices together so it's back to a watertight model. So if I target weld, I'm going to target weld this one to that vertex there, this vertex here, one hiding in there, so I'll put that one there, put that one to there. Let's see, we're going to put this one there, and that allows us to see these. Now there is 2 inside here that I do need to connect up. There we go. We can go ahead and connect these 2 middle ones up there. We'll have to do that later. So I'm just going out and target welding so that I have a watertight model again. There you go. Sometimes you have to go into wireframe mode to see that. All right, let's get that one. Target weld the middle one together. And the final one is up here. There you go. All right, so now that the fingers there are back welded and it's one watertight model. But it didn't actually copy that over to the other side because I turned off symmetry, and that was needed in order to duplicate the model. So I need to go back to the front view and put it in face mode, zoom out some, and drag select the right side of the character to delete this and re-mirror this back over. Go back through here. Oh, there's a little edge loop issue there we'll correct as well. Yeah, all those are selected. Let's delete that. All right, so before we mirror this back over, we need to correct whatever happened up here. with some of these edge loops. So like I said, I use multi-cut to kind of clean up things. Let's pull this back through here. Okay, and target welding the vertices, connecting all that back together. I don't think we missed there. It's not letting me do it there. Okay, let me just save, and just in case it's not working properly. Zoom in. There you go. Trying to. Alright, so something's going on here. So sometimes we have to delete faces and then clean them up. So if faces aren't for some reason connecting together, let's make sure there's no other weird stuff going on in this area. Yep, and I'm just taking the edges and moving them around. Maybe one of these faces accidentally got extruded earlier. So I'm going to take these two edges and extrude that back, out this way. Okay. And I can take my vertex tool, hold down V, which is snap to vertex, and snap that there. Hold down V here and snap to vertex. And then we can take those two edges again, extrude them out, and then snap these vertices there as well. So hold down V, snap to that vertex, snap to that vertex. And this one I'm gonna hold down V, but I'm just gonna use the red arrow instead of the point. And that will, if I drag over to this vertex, it's gonna line that center vertex there. All right, since I did a little bit of extrusion, I need to go into edit mesh and merge. That'll merge the vertices right on top of one another. All right. Now we're ready to mirror over again. All right, pivot point is still in, whoops, it's not exactly in the middle, so we need to correct that. We can move the pivot point by hitting the D key. And then with the move tool, we can hold down V and snap that, oh, I accidentally rotated it, snap that to one of the vertices on that corner point. So D is pivot mode. If I hold down V, I can click on that center point, pivot point, move it to, so it snaps onto that center line there. All right, so now we're ready to mirror over. If I go to mesh, mirror with the box beside it, X-axis, negative direction, which works for me. There you go. Now those fingers are on the other side. Last thing we need to do is to turn symmetry for object X back on. Make sure that is working. Yep, there it is. And model the thumb. Okay, so the thumb is going to kind of roll down a little bit, but it's also going to be straight out towards the fingers. So for this one, it might be good to come in here and add another edge loop. So mesh tools, insert edge loop, and pull this edge loop in the middle there. That'll allow me to get a little bit more rounded of a thumb. So now I can select those four faces and extrude, move it out, and we'll just do some bigger scaling to begin with. And let's just go ahead and try to round that off a little more. So that way we don't have as weird of an oblong form to deal with. All right, that's all right for now. And we're going to try to start rotating around. So let's flatten that a little more. And we need to rotate around this joint. So it needs to be a little wider there. Pull it back some. So when I'm extruding, I'm extrude, move, rotate, and scale. So scale it this way, rotate, and then we'll do it again. Extrude, move, rotate, scale. We're working our way around that thumb joint. There you go. All right, let's do it again. Extrude, move, rotate, and now let's look at it. That's pretty good. We need to make a couple of refinements to the form a little bit here. Pull it out a little more. There you go. That's pretty good. All right, so that's the base for the thumb. Now we need to do the first joint for the thumb. So let's, really this is the second joint for the thumb, but down here, We're going to start to taper some, so we'll scale it in a little bit. We'll make it straight. And then this is the knuckle. So scale it out a little bit. We'll do 3 for the knuckle, just like we did for the fingers. Okay. And this is going to be the tip of the finger where the thumbnail is. Something like that. I'll scale it vertically a little. Scale it down some. And then we'll do like 2 or 3 extrusions at the end to start to round that fingertip off a little more. Last one. There you go. We can come back and take these couple edge loops, skim out some for the thumbnail. But that position is not very natural, so we really need the thumb to, well, one, it needs to really start further back, so we just need to kind of scale the whole thing, or move the whole thing back, and then start to rotate it some. So let's do, hit shift period to increase that some. And then now let's turn on soft select. Value down to 3 or something like that. I'll move it too much there. There we go. We'll try this. Take some more here. And let's move the whole thumb back a little. Maybe I'll turn soft select off for a second, because I don't want to pull the forefinger area. There you go. We'll try that. Get these last couple. So let's rotate it back a little, move it back here some. It's pretty good. Pretty decent position there. Rotate it out a little. There you go. And then from the fingertip point of view, we want to start rotating. So let's turn on the soft select. Let's change from volume to surface, and that shouldn't select the vertices on the finger. Let's scale it out more, 8 maybe. And what I want to do is rotate it out and also down some. There you go. Rotate it out a little more. Kind of reposition it some. Because our thumb will rotate down some. There you go. That's all right. Put it down to like 3, and we will rotate it this way a little more. There we go. All right, so good starting point. We can come in here and kind of clean up some of these vertices, like that one. Turn soft select off, kind of blend it a little more. Pull this one back. Pull this one down. Add a little bit. So we're just adjusting some of the positions of the body right now. So it's not so harsh of deformations here. So these need to go up. There you go. So just moving them around. Blend this in a little more. Push that one back a little more. There we go. So we can keep playing with some of these forms. This is too bulbous there. That one's poked out too much. There we go. So that's a start to the hand. We have all fingers on there, the thumb on there. We don't have too many loops down the rest of the body. So that'll wrap up this video talking about how to model the finger. One thing we should probably do next is actually go back to the geometry, because the geometry is very faceted. Select the geometry again and go to Mesh Display, Soften Edge. And that'll kind of clean up the softness of the hands. Alright, so that'll wrap up this video for how to add the major body parts for our character. The next video we'll come back and talk about how to add some more small detail like clothing, adjust some more edge loops, add some more individual detail to the fingers, and then we'll move to the head.